This is the first example from section 2.4 day 1, and we are getting into working with a lot of different things related to polynomials in this chapter. Division happens to be one of those things. When we're dividing, we're finding zeros. There's all kinds of stuff that's related, but I'm sure you're happy about seeing this. There is long division. You thought you were rid of that earlier on in your elementary days, but we're going to do long division with polynomials here. So first thing that we need to do is just identify what we are dividing. And it says we've got here, divide the dividend f of x. The dividend here, that's the part that goes inside the division bar. So I'm going to put that x to the fourth minus 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 4x plus 6. I'm going to put that on the inside. That is considered the dividend. The divisor, d of x, that's the little part. That's what goes out here. And so we're going to put this out in front. Now, some of you may already be wondering as we start this problem, do we have to use long division for something like this? Because you may remember from last year there's something called synthetic division. In this particular example, it actually requires long division because we don't have a linear divisor. This one is too big. We need to still work with this in terms of long division. So here's how we start these types of problems is we take a look at the first term in each, in the dividend and the divisor. I've got x squared and x to the fourth. We think about what do you multiply x squared by to get x to the fourth? That's what's going to go up here. In this case, it is x squared. So now I'm going to take that and I am going to multiply down below. I'm going to multiply this back through and see if I can, limit what's going on here, break that down a little bit. So now I'm going to go back around. I'm going to say x squared times x squared is x to the fourth. But then the consequences, I have to do it to these other ones too. And so I'm going to go x squared times 2x is 2x to the third. Then x squared times negative 1 is minus x squared, minus 1x squared. At this point, if you remember from elementary school or whenever that was, when you do long division, we have to subtract what's down below. This is where most people make mistakes. And so what I want you to do when you're subtracting is I actually want you to put all this in parentheses, and I want you to put the subtraction symbol out in front. That will help limit the number of errors that you might make. So we combine those together now, and we get, so negative 2x cubed minus 2x cubed is actually negative 4x cubed. And then 3x squared minus negative x squared is plus 4x squared. That's the part that people get a little confused on at times. So now, once you've got that taken care of, we bring the other stuff down. Next is to kind of start back where we began, and that is finding out what do we multiply this by to get now this first term here. So we need an x, but we also need a negative 4. And so that means that up here I'm going to place negative 4x. Once I do that, like before, I'm going to multiply back down. And so I multiply back down negative 4x times x squared. Well, that should always be exactly what we have right here. That's the whole point of that process. But then we do negative 4x times 2x is minus 8x squared. And then negative 4x times negative 1 is going to be plus 4x. Same process before. Subtract what's down below. Those should always cancel out. That should never have anything come out of that. 4x squared minus negative 8x squared is 12x squared. Negative 4x minus 4x is going to be minus 8x, and then we bring the 6 down. All right, we're only going to have one more step here, and the reason I know that is because we've got x squared and x squared. Once we get past this step, we wouldn't be able to do this process anymore. That's kind of how you know when you have to stop, is when the stuff down here gets smaller than the stuff right here in terms of a degree. So last one in this process is going to be, all right, 12x squared. What do we multiply x squared by to get 12x squared? That is 12, so we'll have plus 12. Multiply back down, 12x squared, as we would have expected, right down here, 12x squared. Then 12 times 2x is going to be plus 24x, and then 12 times negative 1 is minus 12. Again, remembering to put parentheses around there, put the subtraction. I think it's a really good idea to actually write that in every time. These cancel. Negative 8x minus 24x is negative 32x, and then 6 minus negative 12 is plus 18. Now, as I mentioned, this becomes a smaller degree than the divisor. When that's the case, we're ready to stop. Now, hopefully this is going to be 0, because then that means things divide evenly. But if it's not, then what we do is make this our remainder. So this is the remainder in this problem. But we're not just going to do like we did in middle school, where it was r something. We actually have to have an expression for this one. So here's how it works. We're going to make a fraction where the divisor is the denominator of this fraction. So we're going to have x squared plus 2x minus 1, because this is just basically the spot for the leftovers, and now we have negative 32x plus 18. So we put that right here. It's not really all that nice to look at, but we have to include that part as the entire answer. So it's x squared minus 4x plus 12 plus this remainder divided by the divisor. So that's pretty messy. There's a lot of steps involved with long division, but the good news is we won't have to do this for most problems, and you'll see why when we get into the next example.